350. Safe driving to you, thank you. We'll stay with other transport matters. And the Transport Secretary, Grant Shapps, goes to a bridge too far, the Hammersmith Bridge. The closure, of course, if you live out in West London, or actually you travel around the area, it has had such an impact on that part of the London and surrounding areas. Well, the Times newspaper reports that the Department of Transport wants a 50% local contribution, as it's called, to the repair of Hammersmith Bridge over the Thames. It's been shut for 4 months. Currently, it's scheduled to take more time to repair it than it took to build it. And now, presumably, it won't proceed until Hammersmith and Fulham Authority gives £64 million towards repairs. Andy Slaughter is the local MP, Labour MP for Hammersmith, also Shadow Housing Minister. What more can you tell us about this, and what is likely to be the response from the local authority? Good morning, Mr. Slaughter.
Morning. I'm not Shadow Housing at the moment.
Oh, sorry, formerly, my apologies. At the moment, it can all change, Andy. I'm putting your name forward now.
It does sound incredible to people, but there's £150 million bill for this bridge, because basically you're replacing the whole thing bit by bit, and that's the same cost that would be to build a new bridge there. Typically, government puts in about 90% of the money, and TfL and Hammersmith were putting 20 million so far. So you'd expect to have the preparation has been done to do this there, and time what's making my constituents, and it doesn't just affect people, it's mainly people coming from south to north, it's people across Surrey and everywhere else. It's a major strategic route. Why on earth would someone like Shapps be saying, oh, local authority can pay this, or local authority, annual budget of 120 million, can suddenly magic up 65 million pounds?
Well, in the past, Mr. Shapps has told me two things. Firstly, he says the bridge owned by that local authority. He also says, and I obviously want your response, that the level of costs is because they, the local authority, have consistently not done routine maintenance. So, in a sense, this has now landed. They should have routinely maintained it, and then we wouldn't be staring at a bill of 100+ million. Mr. Slaughter.
Both those points not on the maintenance issue, and this is sort of catastrophic failure of a cast iron bridge that's 130 years old. We had a similar problem, a much newer structure, Hammersmith Flyer, you might remember.
I do.
There. Again, that was a catastrophic failure. That cost £100. Money was found for that. I don't know why, because this is such an important strategic route to London. That money isn't being found. But we know the government can find it. I look every day on the Transport Minister's Twitter, and they're announcing road schemes around the country. 50 million here, 100 million here, and typically, if there is a local contribution at all, it's about 10%. Why do they 50? So ratepayers and others.
But to my central point, finally, Andy, he would say because they've not maintained it. If they'd maintained it, we wouldn't be looking at 140 million repair bill.
Well, it's been maintained the way that any other structure has been maintained. A very fragile bridge made by the IRA, tried to blow it up.
More than once, actually. They've had two goes at it, yeah.
Exactly.
Three, sorry, right, three.
This is in a different order. Maybe just think about it. 150 million.
That's fine.
Same cost of the brand new bridge to do. This is because it's a complete failure of the workings of this bridge. Every part of it is going to have to be replaced.
Well, let's hope for everybody, and you're absolutely not just folk in West London, it impacts the side of really the homes, in the sense that we get some. Andy Slaughter, thank you. You were Shadow Housing Minister, you are Labour MP for, and that is, if you can't get to you, but the side of the news here on L. Back with you tomorrow morning from 7. Meantime, stay safe.
That time is approaching. Current Prime Minister never laid a single. That end of the political pool that we turned first this morning, because two of his key constituencies, Matt Hancock, do a half apology about some comments I made about, and Gavin Williamson, the Secretary of State of Education, voted today for, well, I'm not quite sure what you call it, the dunce's cap, soaking unnecessary fears about a mutation of the coronavirus, and the other, as far as I can tell, picking a completely pointless fight with teachers who simply want to do the right thing.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.
newsroom at 10 o'clock. Ministers say families should do the minimum when meeting up over Christmas. There have been calls for a review of the plans to allow 3 households to mix for 5 days following sharp rises in COVID infections. London, much of Essex and parts of Hertfordshire will go into Tier 3 at midnight, affecting around 11 million people. It means entertainment venues like the Royal Albert Hall will be forced to close. The CEO, Craig Haskell, says they'll lose out on hundreds of thousands of pounds over the festive period.
We're in the middle of our Christmas season. We're now going to cancel 11 shows, let down thousands of people. We've hired hundreds of staff to come back for Christmas. Our caterers had bought all the food. I mean, it couldn't come at a worse time. It's really devastating.
Health Secretary Matt Hancock says the move to Tier 3 is necessary to prevent the NHS being overwhelmed. The number of redundancies in the UK reached a record high in the 3 months to October. The Office for National Statistics says 370,000 were recorded as the pandemic continues to hit the labour market. A council in London said it's seeking legal advice after the Education Secretary threatened court action if it didn't keep schools open to all pupils. The Borough of Greenwich told teachers to move to remote learning for the final few days of term due to rising COVID rates in the capital. Gavin Williamson says it's not in the best interest of children. His cabinet colleague Stephen Barclay agrees.
It is important not just to children's learning, but also to their development, to continue their education. But it's also for parents. If schools are closed, that has an impact on many parents as well.
A 13-year-old has been arrested on suspicion of murder after the death of a boy aged 12 in Lincolnshire. The body of Robert Buncis was found in Fishtoft near Boston on Saturday. Another teenager, 14, has been charged with murder. Boris Johnson will visit India in January in an effort to boost trade and promote his global Britain agenda. The trip will come shortly after the end of the Brexit transition period, when the UK leaves the EU's single market and customs union. Social media firms could be fined up to £18 million or remove harmful content under laws. The legislation would also see online platforms being blocked in the UK if they don't abide by a duty of care, particularly to children and vulnerable people. In the city a short time ago, the FTSE 100 was trading up 17 points at 65.49, and the pound buys $1.33 and €1.09. LBC.
With Halls, get winter ready.
A mixed sunny spell. Showers. Some of the showers in southern and western areas will be heavy and breezy, but again a high of 11 degrees. From Global's newsroom, I'm Simon Conway.
Live tonight, Amazon is delivering you Wolves v Chelsea. Coverage starts on Amazon Prime Video. This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with James O'Brien.
Good morning, it's 3 minutes after 10 and you're listening to James O'Brien on LBC. Tough to know where to start today. Coronavirus obviously dominates the news agenda. The Health Secretary and the Education Secretary both causing something of a rumpus. I think we'll lean towards morning the row that's blown up between the Secretary of State for Education and the Royal Borough of Greenwich. I think we'll begin with an explainer, really, because it's quite difficult to, at first glance, work out why Gavin Williamson would be picking a fight when the schools would be due to break up play on Thursday anyway, with Friday chalk up as an extra inset day. So the answer has to be bigger than the incident. It has to be bigger than this week. And I think that delay to reopening in January is probably... I know what you're thinking, James. You appear to be applying some sort of intellectual faculty to Gavin Williamson. That could well prove to be your first mistake. You're not wrong. Coronavirus, shut up and go away. I think it's more about January than it is about this week, isn't it? And, I mean, I don't know how conscious I am at the moment of not wanting to be too... Because I appreciate you tuning in for some robust opinion stroke explanation, and it's a bit of a cop-out to say that the council have to obey the government, but the government have got it wrong. Or is it a cop-out? I don't know what you think, surely, and if you're a teacher, obviously you go straight to the front of the queue. But in terms of working out why this is happening, given that the schools would break up at 3:30 on Thursday anyway, today, if you're just waking up, is Tuesday. So there's only really 2 days in the balance here. There's only 2 days that they're fighting over. The statement from Greenwich makes it clear that they received the notification too late last night they say, to ask schools to change any of the arrangements they have in place for today. So the schools in the Royal... it's more interesting than the Royal Borough of Greenwich. Yeah, I mean, if you haven't clocked that for yourself already, then I'm not doing my job very well. This is what happens countrywide after Christmas, after the Christmas holidays. So 2 days, Wednesday and Thursday, can't be what debate here. What's at issue here is individual councils taking individual independent decisions about whether or not schools open or close. And I'm going to read you something as well that was in my inbox when I got into work this morning. This is from the head teacher of a school that has closed. It's a third overriding reason for this. Significant number of seniors being required to isolate due to guidance of cases that have died in school. But that's a private school, by the way. Decided to close a school. Gavin Williams. That's question number one. But 03 is the number that you need, and then 2 things in it that slap. The first is rising during the nationwide lockdown. Second, and you so closely. It's about tears, but it